and this is Royal with Talk Show Central RTV Style. And you guessed it, tonight we have an easygoing politics show, and I am bringing in Jaime Díez, that's running for the Railroad Commission. And without further ado, here he is, Jaime Díez. How's it going?
Hey, Royal, it's going great. I'm excited to be on your show.
Hey, well, great. I'm glad you're here. And wow, there comes the banner. And welcome. Here we go. You are running for Railroad Commission. And right off the bat, people wonder, well, what is this? Do you fix railroads, or are you count the spikes, or what is it, the wood? What is the Railroad Commission about?
Yeah, I mean, most people do think it's railroads, and I get people coming up to me, not too often, like once a week, that they'll tell me, hey, my cousin works on the railroad, there's lots of problems on there. And I mean, it breaks my heart. I correct them sometimes. Sometimes I just let them just run with it and be like, just vote for Jaime Díez this November. But what the Railroad Commission does is it oversees oil and gas, pipelines within the state of Texas, and also mining. So those are the three jobs of the Railroad Commission.
So it oversees gas. So does it oversee the gas prices?
I mean, to an extent, they have some input because they do impose regulatory requirements, right? So, for example, if you make regulation more lax, right, then you allow oil and gas companies to maybe offset more of the environmental costs to communities, and that I guess that would reduce the price at the pump, right? But I mean, besides that, it's mostly all federal level stuff that has to do with the price. The Railroad Commission doesn't have a whole lot to do there. They act through a system of something called they're federally delegated to oversee certain federal acts, right? So some of them are the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act. So at least they have to comply with those federal mandates.
Wow. So it's kind of technical. I see it as like it's not so, it's but I think it's very specialized. So it's good, So now, what area will you be over, or what area you're going to be responsible for? And I mean, how many counties, or is it a whole state, or is it more than that?
So it's a whole state. I mean, a lot of people aren't aware of that. They think it's. Well, I mean, being from Brazil, we've got the port, right? So I think it's like another port election,
right?
But yeah, it's funny what you're saying, because it does have a lot of overlap with the TCQ. So the TCQ oversees a lot of water stuff. So there's a Railroad Commission, and it also has some overlap also with the PUC and ERCOT, right? So the Railroad Commission regulates at least gas utilities.
Wow. Well, I guess one of the questions might be out there, so why are you seeking office, Jaime? Why? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm a young guy, but
you're starting your career as a politician. Of course, this isn't your first race. You ran for BISD board, and so. And I'm glad that you're running again, because, man, we need young guys with you with great brains and great hearts, and willing to do it for the community. Hey, easy, ¿qué pasa? And so yeah. So I can understand, but tell me, why do you want to run? Why?
So yeah, I mean, I guess it all started back when I ran for school board in 2020. So this was in the past presidential. I ran for place 2. It was me, it was Frankie Olivo, and it was Denise Garza. Denise ended up winning. But yeah, that was kind of my first intro into politics. Prior to that, I had never even really thought about it too much. I actually started off going to school in DC. I studied international affairs in George Washington, and I interned with Filemon Vela. And so he's at least, well, I guess today's election, right? But he was our federal rep, and I personally didn't like DC all that much. I didn't. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity of working there, right? But it wasn't at least like my cup of tea, right? How you would say. And when I got back here, a year into my time being here, COVID starts. And I kind of find myself, without much to do. And a friend actually suggested that I run for school board. And I didn't take it too seriously, but I told him, like, I'll ask my parents, and if they're in favor of me doing it, then I'll sign up. And my parents were all for it.
Yeah.
I signed up. It was a rude awakening, to be honest, because
Right.
I didn't know how much. Well, I mean, it's a huge employer here in Brownsville, and there's a lot of strong sentiment around that position, right?
Right.
Some people were upset at me because I had gone to I didn't attend a BISD school. Other people were upset at me because I was young, and what does a young guy know?
Right.
So we kind of try to persevere. We ended up doing all right. I think we got around 14,000 votes.
Yeah.
And that time in my life got me interested in libertarian politics.
Right.
Which I understand a lot of people don't really get what that is. Some people
right.
think it's just kind of like a branch of the Republican Party.
Okay. So
and yeah.
So tell us, what is it? Tell us, hey, you're representing the party. You tell us about it. Hey, maybe some of us will jump ship.
Yeah, well, I jump ship. I consider myself a recovering Democrat right now at this point in my life.
Yeah,
but
you're really beat up, man.
Yeah. I sent you this picture of a quadrant. Could you pull that up, maybe? Because
sure. Let's see. This is the. Oh, okay. I see. I see which one you're talking about. Mm-hmm. All right. So let me pull that one out, and let me pull it here, and let's go to town on it. Mm-hmm. So this one, right?
Yeah.
All right. So explain this picture to us.
So a lot of people always ask me, like, so what are you, left or right? As a libertarian, and I mean, in general, in regards to social issues, libertarians are very left-leaning in the sense that, just do whatever you want with your life. And as long as you don't affect me, we should just respect each other, right?
Right.
But then in regards to at least economic issues, this quadrant really helps because I mean, it kind of shows you the X and Y axis. So
okay.
At least you've got your, on the, I guess the blue box, right? That's your authoritarian right. That would more or less be, I guess, your Republican Party, or at least traditional Republican Party candidates. Authoritarian left would be, your traditional Democratic candidates, and also the Democratic Socialist, all that. And then on the bottom side of that, you got your libertarian left and your libertarian right. So, as libertarians, what we believe is that you shouldn't use the power of the government in order to coerce people to do things that they don't want to do, right? So right. It's the idea ends up being that, or that at least lots of people in politics have, is that, for example, if I can get a majority in the House, or if I get the presidency, then I could pass legislation that favors me, right? And then I can coerce the minority of people using the power of the government to do, what I want them to do. So it'd be kind of like me, Roy, saying, like, hey, Roy, I want you to give $10 to the dog shelter. Right. You might tell me, hey, Jaime, I have, I wish I could, but, I don't like dogs, or maybe, I don't know, you have a family to feed. I have no idea, right? So if I'm savvy, what I'll do is I'll get into office. I'll pass some legislation. I'll be like, hey, Roy, well, now you have to give the government $10. That's going to go to the dog shelter. And if you don't do that, we're going to put you in prison, right? Yeah. So it's in regards to coercion. So you actually have some people, at least a libertarian left. I'm not sure how it works. I consider myself more libertarian right.
Right.
So just fiscally conservative. Something that you don't really see anymore in the Republican Party either, right? Because Republicans a lot of times they do platform on that basis that they're very fiscally conservative, but they always run deficits.
Right.
So libertarian left, you actually have something called libertarian socialists, which they advocate for socialism. But from my understanding, I'm not. I mean, I'm not, or that's not my ideology, so I'm not that familiar with it. But at least the idea ends up being that, you can be socialist with a libertarian government, but things that you can't coerce people to be part of your socialist community, right? So hypothetically, with a libertarian government, you could buy a piece of land, maybe set up an HOA or some kind of thing like that. You're like, if you want to live here, these are the rules, right?
Right.
And you have to convince people. You have to cooperate with them. You can't coerce them to come and move with you. And I mean, if I guess people that subscribe to socialist ideals, if they're correct, well then, I mean, their society should flourish, right?
Yeah. Create a community, basically.
Yeah, but it's all based on consent. It's not based on coercion.
It ain't what's that called? A cult.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean,
you don't drink the juice.
Yeah, I mean, it might turn into one. I don't know, but so that's kind of what the libertarian is. I got into it because of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of the government not being able to abuse the currency. At least
Yes.
you see it today in the start of the COVID pandemic with the PPP program and the stimulus checks.
Yeah.
They were passed on the basis to help people in the community. And I mean, if you look at inflation now, the tank of gas and all that, I
Yeah.
mean, in
Yeah.
reality, the people that was meant to help right now are the people that are the most affected
They're
by
going
that,
to
right?
struggle the most.
Mm.
I
And
mean, you
the
know what? It here recently here in Brownsville it was what 5.49 for regular. I
I
think
think
it
for
went down a couple of cents today. I think it was 4.45 or something like that.
yeah.
But I mean that's here. But man, California, man, they're paying
Mm.
$6, $7. It's like
Mm.
it's ridiculous.
Mm.
It's I mean,
Yeah, no, and in reality, I mean, who this helps, it helps you if you have a lot of money, right? Because or not a lot of money, but a lot of high net worth, right? Because most of your money is not in dollars. I mean,
mm,
your money's in stocks, it's in real
right,
estate. So I mean, as a dollar goes up in value, all your stuff goes up, right? So that right there is the federal government, like specifically choosing winners within the
hmm,
society, right? Which isn't the job of the government. It's not
right,
to say, hey, I like this group over here, so let's help them out,
right,
and at the expense of that other group. That's complete perversion of what the government should be.
right, right. And completely against what our forefathers fought for.
Yeah.
And the whole bit. And a lot is said that the Libertarian Party it could be kind of like what the forefathers did. You know,
Mm.
because they were totally against establishment. And here we are. The greatest nation in the world. But yet we don't believe in what our forefathers stood for and
Mm.
was hoping to create, because now we're changing all kinds of things towards
Yeah.
our humanity,
Yeah, well, they understood the dangers of a big government, right? So
Yeah,
they founded the country at least with the idea of a very small federal government, right? And the thing is that I mean they had systems in place, like for example checks and balances, which right now I feel like it's being kind of tossed out the window. But they had these systems in place to limit the power of the government, right? Because they understood what could happen. And
right.
for example, you see that today because at least within what would be a quote unquote free market, right? What ends up happening is let's you set up a business and
Wow.
yeah,
Look at
that
that.
takes care of the
679 in
part.
California. Hey Erica, how's it going? Erica is she creates awesome. Here we go. Look what she did for me.
Oh
She
wow,
she
yeah,
did this. Now the art we
that's
came from
actually really
Araceli
cool.
Fuentes,
Uh,
but she's out there, man, and uh it's hard, man. 679, man. Oh my
yeah,
goodness. When I was doing the math the other day, because I pay my gas. I use the Valeros. I have the Valero card, and I was looking. Okay, two cars, $40 a week,
mm,
320, and that's because I don't we don't use our cars that much. But
yeah,
imagine people that actually drive a lot. I work mainly at home, and it's like, but
mm,
I mean, I remember living in Dallas, and sometimes I would drive 100 to 300 miles a day. So you can imagine. I was filling up my car every day, but back then gas was, what, a buck and a quarter, whatever it was.
mm.
But now, man, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's
Oh, look at this!
it's
No way, $130 to fill up.
people are gonna start stealing gasoline. People are
Oh
gonna start
man.
siphoning tanks.
Guys, if you want to go out with a certain girl,
Mm.
gas her up. Better than roses.
Take her to the gas station.
Get her, take her to the gas station. Hey, baby, let's go to the gas station. Oh, that's a keeper. But yeah, getting back to this, and she likes that. But so I guess I don't know if
Yeah.
you want to get into the graphs that you had sent me, or is that
Oh yeah. Yeah.
which which one do you want to get into? The one with
We can
the
pull up.
the power plant, or
Yeah, we can pull up the power plant first.
all right, cool. Let's do that one, and let's see what happens with this. All right, so here we go, and vámonos. So explain this to us.
I mean, this is just so that people get at least an idea of how power or electricity works, right? Because a lot of people don't have or at least when you're talking oil and gas, you're trying to find alternatives, right? Right now, a big alternative is at least renewables, right, in people's minds, and which it might very well be one day, right? But just let people understand at least how electricity works and how the market works. I think it's a nice little visualization. So at least in this chart, you've got a power plant, right? Which, I mean, that could be your gas turbine or a gas turbine power plant. It could be it could be a solar field. It could be a field of wind turbines. It could be anything, right? So the thing is that you generate power, and then normally you want to lower the current and up the voltage, right? In order to transfer it long distances. So then it goes down to your step up transformer, right?
Okay.
There it goes to your high voltage lines, and then it goes to your next substation, which starts bringing down the voltage slowly till it gets to your homes, your industrial use, all that. The thing is that you have to remember is the fact that these lines, they have a capacity of power that could run through them, right? So at least if you're connecting directly to a power plant, let's say that your power plant might give you depending on whether or not it's base, which your base load, we'll talk about on the next chart, your base load stays flat mostly. So that means they'll give you a flat power. They'll give you, like, let's say 100 kilowatts, right? You'll have your interval load, which might be which will be like your gas turbines, which will they'll power up and power down based on actual electrical demand. So the thing is that when you're making these investments that are your transmission lines, it's kind of hard to so let me rephrase that. So, for example, if you've got a wind field, right, your peak power might only be, I don't know, varies 10% of the time, if that, right? So you're not going to build out your transmission capacity for that 100% of the time, right? You might more or less plan at some middle ground to get maximum utility from that infrastructure, but then as a result of that, you're having to power down part of your wind turbines, when the wind's blowing really hard, in order to not saturate your infrastructure, right? So that's why sometimes you'll be driving down the road, you'll see some wind turbines that are turned off.
Yeah.
That's kind of why. And if you want, I think we can move to the next slide.
All right, so let me stop sharing this one, and let me bring that other one. And oops, here we go. The one with a bunch of lines, or the one
with a bunch of bunch of lines.
Hey, it's technical stuff, man. Okay, here we go. But we got the pictures,
Yeah.
And so explain this graph to us. What's going on here.
Yeah, and by no means I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in any of this.
Yeah.
I get the surface, basically, and
you're not an expert, but we're worse than not an expert. So it's good for you to come in and explain stuff like this, so that we can appreciate the office of the Railroad Commission more. And I think a lot of times offices like that, well, we don't even care to vote for them, because it's not local and all that. And I think we need to make more emphasis in voting in those type of elections, because I mean they affect us. They affect their pockets a lot more than we think they do.
Oh yeah. This is all info from the EIA, from the Energy Information Agency, I think. And in reality, the Railroad Commission doesn't oversee this. This is mostly ERCOT, which is overseen by the PUC, which is a Public Utility Council, right? What the Railroad Commission does see, it does see the natural gas power generation, so the petroleum. The major thing also that people don't know, or a lot of people don't understand, which, to be honest, I had never really thought about this, but is the fact that electricity, it's not like water. If you have too much power, you can't put it in a bucket and then let's say water and use it later, right? So at least the grid, since it works on it's on alternating currency, which is just the frequency. It operates at about 60 hertz. So that was a big thing that came up during the winter storm last year.
Yeah.
That the grid started to deviate from its 60 hertz frequency.
Wow.
So what happens is if you have too much power in the grid and not enough demand, then the frequency will go above 60, and it'll damage infrastructure. So what normally happens in those cases is you'll get like negative price power. So basically, the grid says, we need somebody to take this power, so we'll pay you to use it, right? Which that's a big market anomaly. It's more common with renewables, because with renewables you don't control so much when the power goes onto the grid. And then when you have a lot of demand and not enough supply, which, for example, is what happened in hurricane storm, in the winter storm as well. Hurricane storm. I keep being from the Gulf. I always think,
and that's when we lost power.
Yeah. So the reason we lost power is because since there was too much demand and not enough supply, the frequency went below 60 hertz. So what happens there is then you get controlled blackouts. So they purposely black out certain areas in order to reduce that demand, right, quote unquote. Because the demand's still there; it's just taken offline because there's a forced blackout on the area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important to consider. And here this is a chart from May 10th to May 16th,
right,
for ERCOTs, so for the Texas grid, and it more or less shows you what sources take the power, right? So you got your wind generation, which is your dark blue line. I'm not sure if you can see that. Yeah, it's that one exactly. So you see, so there's your wind, your
natural gas.
The natural gas one is one that more or less mimics it.
Yeah.
Sound right there. And you've got your two base load forms of power, which are normally your coal. The coal is, in green, ironically.
Green one.
And you've got your nuclear, which nuclear is very flat. And the reason this is your base load is because it's kind of hard to power them down and power them up efficiently. So you just keep the load very flat.
Wow.
And up on top is where you have your total the total electricity generated.
Is that the ERCO demand?
Right? Yeah, the ERCOT total demand. So here, at least what I think is interesting about this graph is just how you see how your natural gas power generation always fills in the difference. So if you look actually right where your mouse used to be, a little bit more to the that side. Yeah, there. So when you see where wind power goes down.
Okay, right here.
Yeah, you see your natural gas generation have to really pick up that difference, right? So you see it peak up a lot. So this adds a lot of complexity in regards to managing your grid, right? Because you're having to use these natural gas turbines that power up and power down sporadically, which adds a lot of complexity. And a major part of this is just that your renewables, it's not flat. It's not like your base load, that's your coal and nuclear, that exactly how much it's going to produce. You're more or less going based off how much is given to you, right? And you're having to fill in the difference with your natural gas generation.
Wow.
If you go to the next slide.
All right, let me pull this one out and let me see here. Okay. Hold on. I think it's this. Yeah, here we go. All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's the one with two lines.
So here we go. All right, here it is. Two lines. So you got the base load, which is in the bottom.
Yeah, your base plus renewable.
Yeah.
Base plus renewable, and you've got your total demand. These are graphs that I made. I've been doing a Bitcoin meetup here in Brownsville. So if people are interested in learning about Bitcoin, I've been doing some of these to just teach people about just the different nuances of Bitcoin. This one was talking about actually Bitcoin mining. But So here, this graph, the reason that I made it is just to show the difference that natural gas has to fill depending on the day, right? So like, at least in at night when power demand is is down, power demand is down. I mean, natural gas is really picking up almost nothing, right? But then during the day, you said these turbines are really picking up, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like here, this is like noon, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then it starts falling down right about six
Yeah.
a.m., 4 a.m., 2 a.m. It starts bringing down. Over here,
Mhm.
it really dropped down on 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 the 11th. It really dropped down at 4
Mhm.
a.m.
Yeah. These are super neat information. I mean, it has it as it goes back way back when, but yeah, it's the reason that I brought these graphs up is just to show the differences in power, right? So lots of times people say like, oh, we're gonna be replacing natural or oil and natural gas tomorrow, right? If we wanted to, because we've got all of this, cheap renewable energy that comes to us, via the wind and solar, and there's no need
Right.
anymore. When in reality, the big problem with those energy sources is because they're not consistent throughout the day, right? It's not like, for example, you can get X amount of kilowatts. It's kind of there when it is, and it's not there when it isn't. Sometimes it's there when you don't need it. Sometimes sometimes it is when it's not required. So it's actually really really neat, the concept that I was reading a book about, saying that whenever you flip a light in your home, a natural gas power plant gets a little bit hotter to power that one light bulb, which is remarkable. At least
Wow.
how reactive the grid is.
Interesting. And all the way wherever the power source comes in, because it really doesn't come like here, like PUB deal. It comes from somewhere else, and right?
Yeah, yeah,
PUB doesn't have a magic little box that sends out electricity.
no, at least without large scale batteries, which at this point aren't necessarily economically feasible. I mean, there's no way for you to flatten out that energy generation from renewables, right? So ideally, what you want to do is, for if your solar arrays generating more than X amount of kilowatt hours, then you want to start in a battery and then use that battery power whenever your solar array power is down, right?
Right.
Things that, as of now, it's not feasible. The other alternative, which I mean, it's larger in other areas, not so much in Texas. In Texas, it's basically negligible. It's hydroelectric, right? So that extra power, you'd use it to power a pump, which would take water up here, and then whenever you would want that power, you'd open some kind of door, right? That door would pass that water down a turbine, and you'd be able to use that energy that you created way back when by converting the wind or solar, right?
And
But
part of that's because Texas has a lot of resources, a lot of natural resources. Am I right?
yeah, well, it's neat because at least if you look back at those graphs, they actually complement each other very nice because I mean, usually whenever solar's up, that's during the day, and that's when wind's at the lowest. And at night when there's virtually no solar, that's when wind's at the highest. So
Well,
so so, so I mean, it's relatively flat as opposed in areas that you might have lots of solar, might not have a lot of wind. That does make put a lot more strain on your natural gas infrastructure, right? But in general, Texas is pretty well endowed in regards to it's a mix between its solar and its wind. The only problem is how do you actually take that power from when it's being produced to when you actually need it, right? And
right.
besides that, there's other issues in in regards to you can't make steel. You can't
Mm,
melt a bunch of steel scrap, using solar or wind. You can't make plastics. You can't make concrete with with renewable energy. So, and that's just because to make these things, you need a lot of power in a short amount of time, right?
right.
It's not, which I mean, solar and wind power, it's there, but it's not very dense. It's so
And that's
these,
just, you know, it's time to be used, but not 100%. It's like
yeah,
we
yeah,
haven't we haven't developed that technology that would
mhm,
totally
mhm.
replace what we have.
Yeah. No, I mean, and we will someday, but we're not there yet. And the road commission doesn't oversee the grid. It doesn't oversee ERCOT. However, it does oversee oil and natural gas, and you get lots of people advocating right now for phasing it out entirely because it's non-renewable, and we're going to shift renewable energy future. And I mean, we have to be frank. I mean, we need fossil fuels.
Yeah.
We're gonna need them for the foreseeable future. So at the very least, we need pragmatic regulation, right? And what that means is at least regulation that takes into consideration the environment, being the groundwater quality, air quality, and also the affected people, right? The surrounding communities. So it's one thing that I think that the Road Commission, as of now, has been lacking. Um, and yeah, I mean that's more or less my spiel for how fossil fuels are good, how we need them.
Super cool.
But there are issues, right? And we have to acknowledge those issues.
Yeah, and then what about all this green? Is your commission for green, for keeping green, the what is it, the solar up there,
Yeah.
the ozone layer and all that? Or are you guys for that? Or are you guys against? Well, do you work towards that? Do you work towards a better Earth? Helping Mother Nature along.
Mm.
That kind of deal.
Yeah. So the Road Commission, like I was saying, it does have to follow certain federal mandates, right? Being there, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act. So it does have to follow a certain federal benchmark, right? And certain chemicals. The thing that that I think the Road Commission could do better is maybe do better enforcement, right? And there are small issues, right? Like there's issues in regards to so the other thing that the Road Commission does is it's in charge of the proper usage of, or the proper extraction of, natural resources of Texas, right? So at least, like, if you might not want to have a lot of oil wells very close to each other, right? Because that could ruin the drive pressure, right? Which is just there's a bunch of land right above this pocket of oil, right? That's pushing down, and that's a natural drive, right? So that's what pushes it up. There are things that are called enhanced oil recovery techniques that you can do after, if that is damage to natural drive. But it's like the Road Commission might impose regulations that say, all right, we can only have one well per
certain amount of
per acres, right? Per a certain amount of acres, or
wow.
And this in reality is watching out for the Texas taxpayer, because in Texas there's a severance tax. So what that is that whenever you extract a natural resource from Texas, you have to pay the Texas state government a tax. Wow. And if the Texas Road Commission is at least not regulating this kind of stuff, well, then the amount of revenue that it'll levy through this severance tax will go down, right? Because through bad through bad practices, you get a lower yield of natural resources.
Wow. So some of the comments here, Richard says, we got to eat more beans, I guess, for the gas. Adriana, ¿cómo te va? De Argentina, she says, from Argentina, we haven't got a lot of options. We only have one option, Argentina. Yeah, that's true. But so let me show you some pictures here. You've been on the campaign. You've been doing, all of this. So you have, obviously, you always take some pictures. A very good portrait here. I played a little bit with it. As you know, I'm a photographer myself. And here you are. You're where are you here? What city? This doesn't look like Brownsville.
So they were in Blanco County. This was in the fair. I actually bought a pair of boots and boot jeans for this position. So there I'm estrenándolas. I mean, I love the boots. I'm not a tall guy. I'm like 5'8". They make me about 5'10". I feel so tall. So and I actually bought that shirt on that trip that says, "I don't give a schnitzel." Right. I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, and what building is that? A courthouse back there? Is that maybe a church or something? Or
yeah, it's the old courthouse back there. It's a nice little market. It's lots of antiques. They were upset there because of they have the Blanco River that runs through there, and they had the Kinder Morgan pipeline that it's just this long pipeline. But the Road Commission does oversee pipelines in Texas, within the state of Texas. The issue with that one is that if you list as a common carrier, being that that you set up this pipeline and anybody could use it, just like a common transporter,
Wow.
is that you got to invoke eminent domain. So you set up a path, and people have to let you and people have to let you develop it, right? The thing is that people get upset because they're saying, hey, if you were to talk to at least me to locals within the community, they might suggest alternate routes, right? That might be a little more considerate towards the environment and stuff like that.
Right.
So they were upset here that at least the Kinder Morgan pipeline ran under the Blanco River on 3 different occasions, right?
Wow.
But you would argue that if you're trying to minimize your environmental impact, you would want to work around those things. Mm-hmm. However, because pipelines that list as common carrier have can invoke eminent domain, then they don't really care to reaching out to locals, which to be honest, to me it's a little sad. The idea of eminent domain, well, what happens is you got a bunch of people in a room, right, that say, the lives of the people that we're going to affect is worth X amount, right?
Right.
But the jobs that are going to be created as a result of these ruined lives is worth this much, which is more. Right. Therefore, it's all right for us to ruin these lives. Which,
but it's not okay.
I mean, so only a certain kind of bureaucrat can do that, because it's such an inhuman way to put value on a human life, right? And
right.
But this is what a lot of these people do.
Well, like companies that have not disregarded the how to dispose of waste, and there's been a lot of cases in our past about that, where it has even affected the health of so many kids. I mean, you think about it, how many kids now have autism, maybe dyslexia or different things like the ADHD, and once upon a time that maybe it wasn't there, or maybe babies born without limbs and stuff like that. I mean, there was a time here in Brazil, believe it or not, back in I would say probably early 70s, where a lot of kids were being born like without something. I want to say without a heart or something like that. But I think that would be too crazy to say. But they were being born without something, and it's like, and because of the whole maquiladora situation that was going on here, and the situation, and so, but. Again, regulations is to play. Do you guys play into that as to how chemicals are disposed of and stuff like that, or is that not your area at all?
Yeah, so I mean, there is some of that too. Like for example, a lot of the water that's used to create pressure to bring oil out of wells, right, comes out as really briny water. So I mean, some of that's injected back into the ground, to these wells. So they do see some of that. There's actually a big case right now with the current incumbent. This company applied to make this waste facility in I always have to do the never eat sour watermelon in East Texas. And it's next to this water aquifer. So at least the Road Commission staff, they suggested that it wasn't a good place to have this waste facility, right? And then when the commission came to vote, 3 days prior to their vote, a group called I think it was called something ridiculous. I think it was like the High Rollers Club. Right. They gave the incumbent a $100,000 donation, and then 3 days later he votes against his staff. And this is a guy who, has no experience in engineering, no experience in geology. I mean, I have no idea what gave him the higher insight, right? But he went against his staff to approve this facility to be built out, right? So, I mean, in that sense, there is corruption, and there is a degree of a lack of accountability in regards to how these road commissioners operate, right? But, I mean, at least for the company that gave them the donation, it was a great return on their investment, $100,000 donation, and they got to build their facility.
Hey, man. It's a bribe.
It's a great it's a donation. It's
a donation. Yeah,
it's a donation. Yeah,
Look, I'm gonna put $100,000 here, and I'm gonna turn around and oops, I lost it. Oops, then you found it. So
Yeah.
find your sweepers, keep the peepers, or whatever it's.
Yeah,
But
that actually brings up a neat point about just libertarianism and how we see the free market and the money in politics. Like, in general, we were talking about that how when our founding fathers started this country, they had an idea of a small government, right?
right,
The thing is that they put these barriers in place, like checks and balances to keep the power of the government limited, right? Because they were aware that the government will naturally try to grow itself, right? Like any other organism, right?
yeah.
So the thing is that in a free market, you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you have to convince people to buy your products.
Right.
You can't force them to. So now, so far as you're producing good products at a decent price, people are going to buy stuff from you.
Yeah.
The thing is that at the same time, you've got the government growing. So what ends up happening is you get the entrepreneurs that start to realize, you're like, you know what? It's hard to compete. It's hard to get all these customers.
Yeah.
But if I could talk to get my buddy over there in office, then they could pass, a subsidy, tax abatement, some federal regulation, maybe issue me a big government contract. And I don't have to cater towards the people anymore. I just have to cater towards this 1 or 2 or 5 individuals over here, right? That can then endow me with at least, their blessing, and my business could flourish, right? So it kind of breaks down this mechanism of at least business owners trying to cater to the general public, and business owners trying to cater towards government officials. This is a great example of this. I think is like when a Walmart comes to town. When Walmart comes to town, I mean, they get a bunch of money from the state, county, municipal.
Oh, yeah, because they used to open them up outside of the city limits.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and they would bring a lot of jobs in the whole bit, and also get some breaks.
No, and the thing is, like, well, if you're opening a small business, you're not going to get any of that money.
No.
The thing people always rationalize it. Well, they're creating lots of jobs, but you have to look at it at least deeper than that. But what does that incentivize? And why is the government incentivizing one kind of business versus another? And this is why there's so much money in politics, because there's a huge return on that investment. Because the government's doing things that it should not be engaged in. Right. I mean, it shouldn't be engaged in saying, Walmart should come, we're going to give them X amount of money. It's like, no, if it's a good business whether or not they get money.
Right.
If it's a business, they're going to come here because there's profit motive.
Right.
Right. But there was a hotel that got built that's going to be built in Brownsville. They got a $4 million tax abatement. It's by Morrison.
Right.
And this is over 10 years, right? So after taxes, let's say that the developer is keeping $300,000 in his pocket after the fact. Mm-hmm. Right. So, I mean, for that developer, I mean, it makes sense for him to give a lot of money to politicians, right? Because, I mean, he's making that return via that tax abatement, which tax abatement means that you don't pay taxes over a set amount of the value, right? Or until that value is reached. In this case, it's $4 million. The problem here is that other hotels don't get that same privilege, right?
No.
So let's say you've been in Brownsville your entire life and you operate a hotel, right?
Oh, yeah, and we have those.
You have them. Well, I mean, every day less and less every day, right? Because they don't get a lot of help from the government.
Right.
But what ends up happening is that, let's say the market goes sour, right? Well, you still got to pay your full taxes, but the guy next door doesn't. So you can actually run a great hotel, an awesome hotel. You can be an awesome hotel operator, manager, but because you didn't get that tax abatement, you might go bankrupt while they stay in operation.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, all you create is just a market in which bad businesses are able to stay alive and flourish because they get federal regulation from the government, which I don't even know why it's passing this kind of regulation or passing those kind of tax abatements. Because that's not, if you're at the municipal level, like your jobs are basically just like security. It's, flooding, it's sanitation and roads. I mean, that's basically the gist of your job, or that's what it should be.
Right.
And I mean, they get into all these frivolous things, and that's why there's so much money in politics, because it makes a lot of sense, and you make a lot of money, getting these people into office.
No, and it happens, and I know they tried bringing in that arena situation, and I'm glad it didn't make. But again, it's, money going.
Well, why is the government engaging in that kind of activity? That's not the role of the government.
Yeah, I mean, if it was such a great deal, I'm sure private investors would love to get in it, and this is why no private investor wants to open an arena in Brazil. Otherwise, they would have already. I mean, Elon Musk could pretty much say, "Hey, let's get an arena going," and he don't care.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing,
Mhm. Mhm.
But wow, so great, man. Let me show you. Let's see here. What do we got here? Nope, that's it. Well, man, you're in November. We got to vote for you. We got to vote you in. Because it seems. I mean, well, one of the things they're going to see. Okay, you see, you're young. You're what, 20, 21. How old are you now?
26.
26, man. You're young, but age should not matter, man. And this is why I want, I always sent me the deal, the information and the whole bit. I said, yeah, let's bring them on because you have a good head on your shoulders, man. You ran for BISD, okay? You didn't make it, that's fine. But that's a different type of deal. Here, I think you're running with real politics. In a sense, I guess maybe a little bit more honorable and that kind of deal, and so I'm hoping that you're going to be victorious here. But the thing is, you're young. We need to get you guys that are young to start running for office, hopefully gaining office positions in office, and so you become stronger at what you're doing, and as time goes, man, you're able to create some change that we desperately need,
Yeah.
and hopefully bring other young bucks and ladies as well. That can change things because, man, we're sick and tired of the career politician.
Yeah. No,
You know,
and I mean,
I think maybe that's one of the reasons you decided to run because you've seen it. You've lived there. Yeah, and does it matter that you went to St. Joe? No, it doesn't. I mean, hey, in a way, that's I say in a way I say that's good because maybe you've seen the good end of it, but at the same time, maybe you've had friends that haven't been in the good end of things, and you kind of feel sorry, or you see the things that are going on, and that shows your heart. That shows that you care for people. You know, it's the and that's
yeah.
good.
No, and I appreciate having me on. I think the at least what we're trying to do with this campaign is just I'm very fed up with just the rhetoric in this country. I think that it's a lot of misdirected anger towards each other.
Yes.
When in reality, I mean, politics shouldn't be as tribalist as what it's become. It's not like a Cowboys versus Patriots game in which one team wins, the other loses, politics either in the long run we either all win or we all lose. And
Right.
it's good that for people to just disagree. It's good respectfully. It's
Right.
good to have difference in opinions. At end of the day, we do agree on what matters in regards to in regards to the problems, right? Like for example, everybody could agree that the price of gas today is a big issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if we're gonna get upset, we have to get upset at the people that we actually voted into office, right? Like I think it's a non-excuse for people to come down here, tell us, hey, we've been trying to help you, but we can't help you because a politician over there who's opposition party, won't work with me. So be mad at the opposition voters, right? It's like no, I mean, this is your job is to go there and to build consensus. Find a
Right.
one thing that you agree with that other guy, one
Yeah.
little thing,
Yeah. Whatever it may
and
be,
just work
and
from
build on
there.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I mean, just build from there and let's. But this whole thing, this stalemate, and then I mean, there's I have friends that don't speak to other family members
Right.
or groups of friends that don't speak to one another just because of politics. And it's like, I mean, we're all in the exact same situation. We
Yeah.
need to work together. We need to at least engage constructively. I mean, I'm sure that you don't agree on lots of things if we start talking about politics, right? But that doesn't
Right.
mean that then we're not going to
No.
walk
No.
off
No. No.
as friends.
And you're right. There could be a difference of opinion, but with respect, and at the end of the day, hey, we're going to move forward and we're going to work on
Mm.
it. Maybe you say, hey, this background's yellow, and I say, no, it's blue, and no, it's yellow. But a lot of
Yeah.
times politicians get, no, okay, it's blue, no, okay, it's yellow, no, okay, it's blue, and instead of saying, well, let's look at it closer. Let's both of us come closer and look at what color it is, and they go, well,
Mm.
you know what, we were both wrong. It's red.
Mm.
And they don't work together. And we've seen that
Yeah.
a lot in this administration where, I mean, I think I've always said it that a president should run for 3 terms because by the time he gets to his final term, things are finally starting to happen,
Yeah.
And then comes another president and he changes everything completely, like we
Mhm.
just seen happen, And so then this guy's gonna come out and another president's gonna come in. He's gonna change everything totally, completely. Hopefully for
Mhm.
the better. I don't know, but I don't know, man. And that's why we need to keep voting. We need to keep voting. Your vote is precious. Your vote gives us the power. Then later
Mhm.
on,
Yeah.
you can't be there, saying, complaining. If you don't vote, you
Yeah.
can't complain.
Yeah, no, and the other thing that I think in regards to voting that I think is important is that the only way that you keep your party accountable is by making it clear to them that you're going to vote for them, so far as they actually do what you want them to do, right? Because right now both parties are very complacent with the idea, knowing that they could put any politician that they want in front of you, and just because, they know that they're basically going to vote for their party, that
Right.
doesn't matter, and I feel like that's terrible. People reserve the right to vote for different parties if their party's not actually doing what they want them to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
And
I
it's
invite people to vote different. Vote Green Party, vote Libertarian, right? Um,
it's because really, quite frankly, it ain't about the blue and it ain't about the
no, it's
red, guys. It's
mhm,
about the United States,
yeah.
and it's about getting the right candidate into each position. And a lot of times we make decisions based on color. Oh,
Hmm.
it has to be a blue vote, no, or it has
Yeah.
to be a red vote, no. You might have the worst, and I've always said it. I've said this since I started doing these talk shows. Don't vote for your friends. Don't vote for your family. Don't vote for your compadre. Don't vote
Hmm.
for your sister. Vote for the best candidate. And,
Hmm.
and the times of when we used to vote for somebody because Abuelita knew him and Tio knew him and that kind of deal. Those were the good guys.
Hmm.
Those were the good guys that would come in, and they were part of the community, but not anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. And so, I'm sure you're block walking and you're talking to people and a whole bit, and that's what you need to do. People need to see you for who you are, and instead of judging, okay, this is a young kid, what does he know? Well, a lot of times, the young ones are the ones that know. I think you should have been in the school board because you had just come out of school. Well, not recently, but you had just come out of school a lot, maybe what 5 years or something like
Yeah.
that. And so
Hmm.
you knew what things were going on, and whereas everybody else, hey, they don't. It's the so hey, Rene and Keith said, yep, it's about what's right for the people. Forget about political parties. SOC, that's right, Rene.
Hundred
It's
percent.
not about the political parties anymore. We've voted for the political parties for a long time, and it has gotten us nowhere. And so,
Hmm.
man, I'm looking at this, and man, Icy's always sending me stuff, and I go, oh my goodness, okay, but it's true. We need a new option,
Hmm.
but
I cannot say it better myself. I 100% agree with that. It's about the country. It's not about the political party,
yeah.
and we forget that too often.
So, guys, come November, and even now, I think you can help Jaime by talking to your friends. Tell them, hey, come see the show, or you know
Mhm.
what? What else? Let me share something else with you guys. Hold on. Let me move this over here, and hold on. Jaime. I want you guys. I challenge you guys to take a couple of here. Let me take this to take a couple of minutes of your time and go to Jaime's. What did I do here? Oh yeah, here we go. And go to Jaime's page. I see
Mhm.
what's going on here. Go to Jaime's page. What did I do? What did I do? Oh, here we go. All right, there we go. Go to Jaime's page and read up on it. He's got a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff. And hey, if you want to make a donation, there you go.
Mhm.
There you go. Because I'm sure he needs it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Even $1 helps so much, just
you
because
know,
to get more individual donors.
and you know, he's got a lot of great information that I had never seen, never heard of. It's all new to me. I mean, that's his platform here, and I mean, hey, and there's a lot of stuff. He gives you point by point as what's going on with the budget and what's required and everything. It's a great page, Jaime. You did a great job with it, and hopefully that is a tool to get you elected, man. Because we need you, man. We need you there, and we need you to grow. And who knows? Run for Congress, run for Senate. Hey, the president, be the next president in a couple of years. Nunca sabes.
I mean, right now, just railroad commission. It's hard running for office. It's really, I mean, it's something that I'm looking forward for November. Whatever happens, we're gonna try our best. I think we can win. I believe we can win, just because people are fed up and people are ready to show that in the ballot box. People are ready to show how fed up they are by voting. I think for something different.
Right.
And but yeah, it's hard. It's really personal running for office. But I mean, we're trying to persevere, and I mean, I appreciate you having me on. Right now, we're trying to do as many podcasts as we can.
Yeah.
Whatever, political party, anybody, if you want to just have me on your podcast and tell me that I'm stupid for an hour, I mean, I'll do that as well.
well, you're not. I mean, hey, you're brilliant, man. I mean, you know your facts. I mean, hey, at least you know what you're going for. You know what you're going to be working for in the whole bid. And so, man, I give you credit for that. I knew right from the start, man, that you knew exactly what you were going to talk about, and I mean, what you were going to. That you knew your stuff. Put it that way. You know your stuff. You're not. No one's gonna make a fool out of you up there in Capitol Hill. Because you know where you're coming from, and if they do because of your age, you're gonna set them straight, and because you do have a lot of confidence. I like that. You have confidence, and you speak well, and man, I see a lot. I see a lot coming from you, man. So, man, I wish you the best. I think you're gonna win.
I think so too.
Oh, we need to vote for you. And so talk to your friends, get people to get on board on Jaime Diaz's Railroad Commission road there. Let's get them elected, man. And hey, we can do it. We've done other things. Why can't we get you elected? So
we can.
So, Jaime, we'll let you go, man. I'm going to end the show with that video because it was so cool. So, guys, this is Royal with Talk Show Central RTV Style. This is Jaime. He's a candidate for the Railroad Commission. He wants your vote in November. Let's give it to him. Jaime, buenas noches. Good night.
Thank you.
All right, so, guys, take care. Again, this is Royal with Talk Show Central RTV Style. Let me take this banner out. And, guys, we'll see you. Bye. Oops, hold on. Before I go, let me put this video on. Y los vamos. Bye.